Over 300 years ago, a reclusive scholar named Pu Songling began collecting stories, tales people swore were true. Not fiction, not folklore, but strange events whispered from village to village, too unsettling to forget. He wrote them all down in a book called Liáozhāi Zhìyì, Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio. And the one you're about to hear starts with a simple decision, a quiet night, and a man with something to prove. But what follows has left generations wondering what he truly found. Let's dive in. Yīn Tiānguān was not born into power, but he intended to die with it. His family in Licheng had once held modest rank, long since faded. But Yin was disciplined, hungry, cold to distraction. He had one ambition: to pass the imperial examinations and rise into the court's inner echelons. It was whispered that a regional advisor, someone with ties to the Board of Civil Office, was traveling through, quietly evaluating candidates for higher appointment. Yin knew the others were trying to get noticed with gifts and groveling. He would do it differently. At the edge of the county stood the long vacant Zhu family estate, a place of strange silence long abandoned, nothing broken or ruined, just unclaimed. Yin stood among his friends at dinner, his voice calm but unwavering. I'll spend the night in the old Zhu estate, alone, not to chase superstition, but to prove resolve. Let the officials see who among us has the courage to lead. His friends paused, then nodded with quiet respect. Only you would dare that, one said. Not for glory, another added, but for purpose. They raised their cups. To Yīn Tiānguān, may the heavens watch and history remember. He left after sundown. Rather than take the front avenue, he entered through a narrow side path he had passed many times before, overgrown but familiar. He climbed to a high moon terrace and set down his mat to rest. That was when he heard music coming from the main entrance of the mansion. Soft drums, a bamboo flute, a string plucked with practiced hands. He stayed still. After a while, a boy holding a lotus lantern reached the top of the stairs and froze when he saw Yin. He turned back down the steps and whispered, "There's someone here." Moments later, an old gentleman appeared, tall, refined, his robes edged in crimson thread. He studied Yin's face for a moment, then offered a respectful nod. "Yīn Tiānguān, isn't it? From the east side of Licheng. Your family name carries weight." Yin rose slowly. "I didn't know the estate was still in use. I only meant to rest." "You are no intruder," the man said gently. "Tonight is my daughter's wedding, and fortune has brought us a neighbor of such standing. Please, join us." The offer was calm, sincere. He was led inside, where warm candlelight spilled across silk drapes, and red ribbons hung like blessings from the beams. Inside the great hall, the air was warm with incense and spiced wine. Women in flowing robes passed with trays of jewel-colored fruit and jade bowls of soup. Lanterns swayed from the ceiling, casting soft shadows that moved like dancers. He was seated beside the family, treated with deference, almost reverence. The groom arrived, a boy of 17, princely and poised. Then the bride. She moved like still water. Her phoenix coronet gleamed with kingfisher feathers. Her eyes met his across the room and lingered. She bowed, and in that moment, something passed between them. Not just attraction, recognition. As the wine flowed, Yin felt a heat rise through him. The bride approached him again, this time with a cup, a goblet, heavy, gold, engraved with imperial motifs. "I offer you this as thanks," she said, her voice barely more than a breath. Their hands touched. He took the goblet and drank. The music softened, candles dimmed. He rested his head against the table, and slept. When he awoke, the banquet was gone. Cold plates, dark lanterns. The warmth had drained from the walls. But the goblet was still in his hand. He left before sunrise, returning through the back path, and walked into town like nothing had happened. When he showed the goblet to his friends, they laughed, until they saw it. It gleamed in the early light, imperial in design, exquisitely crafted, and unmistakably priceless. In the years that followed, Yin's rise was meteoric. He passed the highest civil exams, was named magistrate over Feiqiu, then prefect, then head of a department in the capital. People said he was chosen, destined. But sometimes he would sit for hours, silent, staring at the goblet. One night, at a formal banquet hosted by the Zhu family, the distant inheritors of the estate, he was offered wine in a nearly identical cup. The host frowned. There were 8 of these, sealed 10 years ago with the imperial mark, he said, unopened until tonight. But now, only 7. Yin's hand trembled. He returned home, opened his cabinet, unwrapped the goblet. It was still there, still warm, and the seal untouched. He stood still for a long time. Then something inside him cracked. "I should have known," he whispered. "Fox spirits." He remembered the stories, spirits that seduced men with beauty and power, that couldn't steal a soul, but could trick someone into giving it freely. Once they had it, they wore the body like a robe. He remembered the bride's touch, the softness in her gaze. That was the moment the goblet had bound them. Not a gift, a contract. The same one he now realized that had taken the Zhu family. He rushed to the courtyard, tried to shatter the goblet against the stone pavers, but it didn't break. Instead, he felt her, not outside in the courtyard, but inside. A presence rising from deep within his chest, like breath turning into smoke. She was already there, woven through his thoughts, curled around his memories, quietly hollowing him out piece by piece. He tried to speak, but the words felt foreign. He tried to move, but his limbs no longer responded at his will. Visions flashed behind his eyes, moments he thought were his, victories, promotions, decisions. But she had been guiding them all, gently nudging his path toward power, feeding on the essence his rise released. Now, she no longer needed to guide. She was him. As he crumbled inward, his consciousness was drawn downward, pulled like water spiraling into a drain, into the goblet. His spirit hit the gold like stone hitting ice. No sound, no escape, just stillness. He watched her settle fully into his skin, a perfect fit. She blinked with his eyes, smiled with his mouth, straightened his robe, and walked out into the world. He was forgotten, a flicker sealed in gold, and she, immortal and untraceable, was ready to begin again. Power always comes at a cost, but the cruelest prices are the ones you don't know you're paying until it's far too late. Yīn Tiānguān rose faster than anyone expected. His name echoed through the court. His judgments were praised, his fortune unmatched. But the man behind the face had long since disappeared. The fox bride didn't steal his body. She was invited in. Through one moment of pride, one sip from a golden cup. Now, she wears his skin, builds his legacy, and when this life begins to fade, she'll do it again. So if you ever find something strange, something beautiful, something no one else seems to notice, think twice before you touch it, because not every treasure wants to be found, and not every story has someone left in the end to tell it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if this one lingered with you, share it with someone who still believes that ambition can open more than doors. Until next time, 再见!